that means that you do actually know the improved way of doing things, and then that's where you start building a tech solution. Yeah, because a lot of startups, when they start off, they have a grand idea. They roughly sketch things out. Maybe they'll ask few people on whether this is something they want, and then if they do not have a development team in house, they'll probably go external. And the problem is that sometimes the communication between them and the external developers is not clear, because that's where they will realize that they are not able to articulate what exactly they are building or what exactly they are doing. Yeah. So in some ways, you can say it's the execution, or actually a large percentage of it is the execution, because you need to know what exactly you're trying to build. Yeah. Or what exactly you are trying to do. Maybe let's put it in another way. You want to perhaps build a matchmaking platform for two sides of the demand and supply. Maybe say, for example, home services. Okay. The key thing is that not just think about immediately getting the product made developed by a third party, but actually thinking, say, for example, if I'm going to do this matchmaking manually, do I actually know the workflows? What are all the problems that the demand side has, or what other problems does the supply side have? And trying to understand these two sides clearly before you attempt to automate it. Because in my opinion, a lot of so-called tech startups are not necessarily very, they don't need any fancy technology. Okay, you could use one of those low-code platforms like Bubble to just build a very simple prototype and then learn as you go. The key thing is that I think is that you need to spend a lot of time trying to understand the processes and optimizing those processes before you actually hire a team to build it. Of course, if you have someone very techy, tech co-founder from day one, it makes this whole thing a lot easier. So because you kind of with experience, we tend to have some sort of idea on okay which direction to go to or what to do next and things like that. If you do not have any experience in building a product, then it's pretty much a learning process. So rushing through this process without actually knowing what to you want to build or what you should be building is definitely something I would tell co-founders not to rush into. Yeah, because if you rush and you start spending money like hiring a team and things like that, you may reach a point in time where you realize, oh, okay, I've got more problems. I don't have anything that I want the team to build because I'm trying to solve this problem. What exactly is wrong with my process? So you have a balancing issue about, oh, you've got to pay the salary of the team, or you've got to spend more time on some other things. So the general idea, I would say, especially if you are a lone founder or a co-founder, is to build and understand the process first. Try to test things out without actually engaging a third party to build the solution first, until you have a much clearer idea about. I wouldn't say having the perfect product, but being able to say, okay, I've tested this with 20 different people, and they are all maybe 70 to 90% interested in it. Then that's probably when you have a good idea of what to build first, and then go ahead and get it built. Yeah. Okay.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Yeah.
Yusri.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's a chance, I have some follow-up questions, but
Yeah,
over
sure.
to you, Elise.
Yeah, I just say that I started recording only after Andrew, you asked a question. So I just want to
Mm.
ask Andrew, could you repeat your question?
Yes, my question was, um, if we look at creating a company, starting a startup, is the idea more important or is the technical know-how not more important? With that as the context, my question is when you are deciding on building the product, is it more important to build in-house or can you
Mm.
outsource and get someone to help you build it?
Yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah, I think I also missed out the second part of the question. Uh, Personally, I would say uh, you probably shouldn't have an in-house team yet. Okay, unless you are very sure that this is the product that you want to build, it's probably better for you to outsource and build a prototype or an early version of the product, and basically on a project basis say, okay, this is what I expect, let's just build this, and then once it's built, then you can use it to test it and refine further. Because I think at the early stage, if you have an in-house team, unless the in-house team happens to be your technical co-founder, okay, if you once you start having an in-house team, you need to continuously have work, yeah, for them. So this is only possible when you have a very smooth process internally. Yeah, and to be honest, in many startups, this is not uh, always there. I think over half of the startups I've mentored uh, are not at this stage where they are able to have a permanent in-house team uh, at such an early stage. I would say probably once you hit, you're close to releasing your MVP, which is, in my opinion, and the MVP is basically a product that someone pays to use, or is willing to pay to use. That's when you can start considering hiring uh, your first employees for the tech team. Yeah, but otherwise, either you have a technical co-founder or you just build it on a project basis and test it out. So that way, uh, you just need you need to spare the time rather than having always to worry about uh, uh, your funds because you are always spending money. So you extend your runway by not building all the time. But whatever you have built, you use it for testing. So I personally think that probably works well for most startups at the early stage. Uh, of course, I would say that in, regard to this, uh, is that sometimes startups don't really have uh, any technical know-how. Yeah. So and this eventually can be a problem in its own because if that's why as I said earlier, it's very important to actually understand the process and know that this process actually works, and you can teach one or two other people how your idea works, and they can actually replicate it. Once you are at that stage, then you can tell the development team, okay, this is what I want. Let's build this. Yeah. But if you are not able to even do that, teach another person what you think is the right process on to solve this problem or the problem that you have, then you're probably not even at a stage where you can even outsource the development of the product. Yeah, and some companies are that I've worked with, they they've gone into building the product without actually knowing a lot of the processes. So when they build something, uh, they'll they'll come to me saying, these third-party developers I've engaged can't do this, can't do that. And then when I ask them, what exactly are you trying to build? I realized that, oh, they do not have a clear idea what they want to build. So they can't even articulate it correctly to the developers. So everything seems like a mess. Yeah. So generally speaking, I always think that people should not rush into building something, but refine it within the co-founding team first. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Andrew, yes, thanks again, Yusry. Andrew, do you
Yeah.
have a follow-up question as you were saying?
I'll hold on for others right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Mary,
Now,
Raina.
I have AI questions. How much of AI solutions would you tell that a startup should be considering before they even start? You know,
Okay, that's
is
a
it a
very good
tech
question.
question?
That's a very good question. Uh, it's something that me and my fellow CTOs we've been having quite a bit of discussions on this area of this topic. Okay, because AI is very prevalent now, and everyone wants to do AI. But honestly, at the end of the day, uh, AI is something you add later on. Yeah. It's basically when you think about it, even when you use solutions like ChatGPT to to even simple things. Say for example, you have a paragraph of text. You ask ChatGPT to enhance it. Okay, this is probably one of the most common use cases for AI. You need to actually know what to ask the ChatGPT to do. So you need to like sort of like describe uh, your thoughts to ChatGPT so that ChatGPT can do it properly. So so in some ways, it's like understanding what exactly the solution is first before you add AI, because AI cannot do things without you telling it to do. So you need to be very clear, especially once you start going into the so-called prompt engineering.
Mhm.
You need to be able to precisely tell the AI what you need uh, it to do. Yeah. So what this means is actually you need to know the process first. Okay. Or at least the know-how, so that you can tell someone else, please do this. Yeah. So it's like when I was answering Andrew's question, uh, the idea is basically you need to know what you are trying to do, teach someone else, and make sure that they can replicate it. Yeah. Oh, of course, maybe in AI you can be a bit more general, but there are still some very specific keywords that you need to use before AI knows what needs to be done. Yeah,
Yeah. So basically, you need to craft your questions wisely so that they can generate the answer that you want.
correct. Yeah. So by doing so, that means that you basically still need to know how what you want to build or what you want to do before you get AI to do it. So you can't just tell AI do this. AI may give you something and then but it may not be correct, or you have no way in verifying that what AI has given you is correct. Yeah. So to me, before you utilize any sort of AI, uh, you need to basically know the process first, because AI, in many ways, is an advanced. I would say, in a way, in some ways, it's an advanced version of Excel. When you dig into how large language models work, you can actually emulate a very, very slow version of an LLM by using a spreadsheet. Yeah, the general concept is a super advanced database or spreadsheet. Yeah. So I personally, if you can do any sort of analytics using a spreadsheet, you probably can sell it as some sort of AI. Yeah, because yeah, so you don't have to actually use the so-called AI that everyone knows out there, but you can always incorporate analytics, machine learning, very basic machine learning, uh, into your product. Yeah. So yeah, that's my general thought. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I find it so difficult to give the
Yeah.
correct prompt. It's like because you have to pretend that it knows nothing, right? So
Yes.
and it will literally do wrong things. Then you'll be like, oh my gosh, I must repeat that prompt again and with more detail.
Yeah. Yeah. So AI, that's why it's more about there's this whole genre or new career called prompt engineering.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
people who takes in uh maybe product specifications, requirements, and tries to convert it into a prompt that AI understands. So it's a different way of coding or
yeah.
development, except you write it in more plain English, but slightly structured, but a lot less structured than actually coding something in a programming language like Python, C, JavaScript, and things like that. So it's a bit easier for the masses to use,
Mm.
but at the end of the day, AI in general is fuzzy. You may not, you may run the same prompt 20 times. You may not always get the same answers back
True, true.
because there's this fuzziness, randomness in
Yeah.
AI. Yeah, so it's an imprecise way of programming or software development. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Mm.
Actually,
How
there are
about the
different
yeah?
types of AI. Sorry.
Yes, yes, Mary.
No, I'm just saying, instead
Yeah,
of Chat GPT, there are so many now that's been developed that the accuracy is so much more better than the normal Chat GPT. That's what I
yeah,
understood. Because
correct.
I attended one of the IP conferences
Mm,
recently, and we talked a lot about AI and how lawyers are using them and
yeah.
how you should fact check and things like that. I mean,
Mm.
just a comment. That's it.
Yeah, definitely. All these LLMs are continuously being improved. There are new startups, new companies, or even the big uh, organizations like IBM who have a long history of analytics and machine learning. They're all building uh, newer and better LLMs. Basically, when it comes to LLMs or large language models, there are two ways to improve it. One is to have more training data. It means your corpus or your database is larger. So it has more information to infer. Yeah. The second way is basically optimizing the algorithms that built that run the LLM. So basically, this is basically the internal processes. Yeah. So say for example, if you use ChatGPT, right now is I think 4.0 or something else. Uh, you have different types of the corpuses. You might have something that has 13 billion uh, okay, I forgot the term. Is I would just use the like the content 13 billion, 70 billion. You may have smaller ones that's like 3 billion that can run on your mobile phone. Basically, this is the size of the training data that's used, and so the more accurate it will become more accurate when you have a larger database. Of course, if you train it, those specialized GPTs, so basically, if you train it, if you want to build something that's meant to like refine IP documentation, and you train it with all the IP documentation, then it becomes very specific for that. Yeah. So so the general ones need a very large corpus, but the specialized ones could use a smaller corpus, but more specialized. But if you were to use this kind of specialized GPTs to ask general questions, it may not have an answer for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mary and
Yeah.
Yusri. Andrew, do you want to ask follow-up questions?
You have questions, right? Why don't you go for it? Yeah, give everyone a chance to ask Yusri since we have him here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so I think one of the recent thing that happened. Okay, so mine is like not AI related lah, or like as a not really a founder. So because I do a lot of marketing, right? So
Yeah.
we realized that our newsletters, some people may receive it in the inbox, but then Google put like this header, that's banner that says, ask them to identify whether it's spam or not spam. Yeah. So
Okay.
I want to ask, how do you get out of that?
Okay. That is a problem that we always face. Okay. I've been helping a lot of different parties with this same issue. Generally speaking, there are three things you probably need to check first. Okay. One is the what we call the sender policy framework, or SPF records. Yeah. The second one is what is known as the domain key records. So SPF generally is a way of telling recipients that these are the authorized machines that can send email using my domain. Yeah. Okay. So if I receive a mail physically from Postman A, and he is authorized to deliver letters from you, I will accept it. So potentially there is maybe there's something wrong with that, but most of the time this is not the issue. The other thing that all these spam policy frameworks evaluate is your domain key. So domain key is a framework that not encrypts your email but signs your email. So it's like the public-private certificates. So say for example, Elise, you send an email, you sign it with your private key that only you have. Okay, and so for me, when I receive an email from Elise, I can use Elise's public key to see whether this is actually signed by her or is it someone else pretending to be Elise. Yeah, so this needs to be set up. So if Google receives an email from ASN, it will check whether ASN's public key verifies that this is actually an email from ASN. So it's not just checking the postman who sends it to me, but also checking the contents of the letter to make sure that this is correctly signed by who is supposed to be the sender. Yeah. The other one is what we call the DMARC records. So DMARC records is basically more of a feedback loop. Say, for example, I receive an email from Elise, okay? Or I receive a fake email that's purportedly from Elise. What I will do is that every week or every 2 weeks, I'll write a report. Okay, I received this email. It suggests it's from Elise, but based on the checks, is that it wasn't signed correctly. So then I'll send this report back to Elise. Yeah. So generally speaking, to be foolproof, you need to have at least these three things set up. But there are also additional things that will affect email deliverability. One is who is the one who's doing the sending on your behalf. Because most of the time, ESN does not run their own servers. Yeah, for example, ASN uses Gmail, right? Yeah. Yeah. So Gmail if it's set up correctly, mail from Gmail is a very popular service out there. So most people recognize Gmail as a non-spammy sender. But then your newsletters may be delivered by another organization.
Mm.
So sometimes these organizations may not have a very strong sender or KYC. They may just accept anyone who signs up. Okay, so the reputation might not be as high as Google.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if the service's reputation is low, or it has a lot of spam being reported against it, or it doesn't do mail management correctly, for
Mm.
example, having a proper way of like unsubscribing and things like that, people may report it as spam. And then these spam reports will then be sent to specialized databases,
Mm.
and it decreases the reputation of that sender. So it could be that even though you have done all the three the SPF, the DMARC, and the domain key correctly, but the reputation of your email sender may be low, and this may result in potential issues. Yeah. The other one is also the domain that the email is sent from. Is it, if people have been reporting against ASN, uh, it's also possible that ASN as a domain gets reported into the spam databases. So certain recipients may refer to these databases and recognize that this the reputation of this domain is low, and
Mm.
may mark it as spam. So it is possible that this might be happening. So some of the biggest databases that track spam reports will be Spam House. There are also some DNS domain name block lists. So it might be fruitful to check whether your domain is in any of these block lists, or your service, your sender service, is in any of these block lists. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's very
Okay.
useful.
Yeah. So if it's quite clear, then I think being able to send your email and being received by over 90% is already a good number. Yeah. Some of the spam reports could be a manual spam report. Yeah. Or and things like that. Or it could
Mm.
also be that your mail sender is misconfigured, but based on what I've received from ASN so far, I think it's correctly configured, at least when Gmail receives it. I'm not sure whether this is the same case with Microsoft Outlook or some other services. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah,
Mm.
I just checked Spam House. So Spam House is HAUS.
Correct.
Yeah,
HAUS.
they say that we don't have issue.
Don't have. Yeah.
That's good.
So, which mail uh, delivery provider are you using right now to
We
send your newsletters?
Weeks.
Wix. Okay. Yeah. Wix might have some sort of information about the delivery of the newsletter. So you may want to check those statistics and see whether they give you anything. But in my opinion, Wix isn't one of the bigger services. So I'm not super sure whether the reputation of Wix is good or not. But I can do a quick check later on for you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, Reina. You raise your hand.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how much time we have left, but I have two questions, so you can
Okay.
answer them in priority.
Yeah.
The first question I have is a follow-up question from Andrew, which is,
Yeah.
by the way, I resonate a lot on the answers you've given in that question that was asked, because that's the fire that I fight every day.
Yeah.
Um, but the question to you is, how do I tell I have a winning idea?
How do
When
you tell
Yeah,
you have a
what are the
winning
signs
idea?
that you look for based on your experience mentoring all these startups?
Okay.
How do you tell that this mentee has a winning idea?
Yeah.
My
Okay.
second question, it's it's a question that I hear from people who talks about AI in
Mm,
general. It's is that is AI a feature or is AI a product?
okay. Let me just tackle the first question about how do I recognize something is a winning idea. Honestly, this can be very difficult, uh, especially if you are working with consumers. Yeah, consumers generally are uh, very fickle-minded, and it becomes the next brand new thing they see, they will move there. Yeah. So working with consumers is it's not the easiest thing. Based on my experience working with different startups who target the consumer market, number one is, I think, when it comes to being able to build a winning idea or popular idea, is to be someone early in the space. Okay, so if you are late in the space or you have competitors, uh, the only way is to, well, I guess, compete based on price. Yeah, unless your competitors are overseas and in a faraway region, and they don't seem to have any plans on coming into where you are targeting. So you can do a regional competitor, but you need to focus on the most popular features first. And you can see, you can identify these features by just looking at your overseas competitors. Yeah. So it couldn't be a cut down scale, but you are one of the first to come up with the idea in the region. I think it will work. Yeah. Sometimes it's just working on a niche. For example, there is a Web3 company that was incubated in SMU. I wasn't their mentor, but I was I kind of sort of like followed them. Okay, because I wouldn't say this is totally a winning idea, but in the eyes of the founders, it's definitely a winning idea because they got bought over. Yeah. It's basically uh, build, being in a niche market where there are no real competitors. In Web3, this startup was focused on the Solana blockchain. Although many those in Web3 know Solana is like not exactly the best chain, but there are people who really believe in it. Okay, and then so a lot of Web3 companies end up using other blockchains or building their products on other blockchains and skipping Solana. Yeah, so Solana becomes a niche product, but they built something that's not quite niche. Basically, it's a chain explorer, but with additional features. So they managed to raise, I think, 3 or 6 million from State Bank of India, and they just got bought over by Solana specific exchange. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
it's not really a winning idea in the eyes of many people, but definitely it's a winning idea in the eyes of the founder. Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
Yusri and
Yes.
Rena for your question. Thibault is also on the chat, some on our hangout. So I want to ask Thibault, do you have any question about tech? Okay.
Hello.
Hey,
Yeah,
hi
can hear you
Thibault.
now.
I'm sorry I'm in the actually working
Yeah.
battle, so I'm not sure you can. Okay. Um, yeah, I think I have a general question about how to build the technology and for
Mm,
context. I'm the co-founder of a startup, and so it's just me and my co-founder for now.
yeah.
We taken the approach to be to try and do as much as we could, just the two of us,
Mm,
or make the decision of hiring, right, in order to protect the runway on one
mm,
hand, and of course to also have a much better idea of who we should
mm,
hire and what kind of skills we need because we have tried to build ourselves. So when it comes to building, we're using all the AI tools. So coding with AI basically,
mm,
things like Cursor and Zero. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, and it's useful. Especially for the 0 to 1 phase, right? So not so
yeah.
much to build an actual like scalable product,
Mm,
but it's working so far for us. But I
yeah.
also realized that so I'm coming from a marketing background. My co-founder is coming from a VC background, so we don't really have this tech capability.
Yeah.
Um, so we've been able to navigate this thing, and you have an MVP, and that's good. What do you think about the tools, and when do you think is the right moment to uh, stay away from this, coding with AI trend and then move to an actual product and maybe hire developers? How do we know when it's that time?
Okay. Okay.
Very broad question. Sorry.
Understand. Yeah. I think this is uh very much related to the question that Andrew asked at the beginning of the session. So I think a lot of what I'm going to say is would overlap with that. So in general, Thibault, I do follow you on LinkedIn, so I know what you are doing with your co-founder Eunice, right? Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's her name, right? Yeah. So okay, so assuming that you are building a purely software-based solution, uh,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, uh, other than knowing the area that you're working in, I'm not so sure what ideas you have in terms of the product itself. But one of the things I mentioned earlier to Andrew was trying to understand your product or your product idea well enough to teach someone else on how to replicate the processes so that is basically making sure, say for example, if you're going to employ someone to run your company, are you able to explain it clearly enough to this person on what needs to be done? So this is not the product that you are building, but basically uh, building or actually understanding the processes that your product will carry out when it gets built. Yeah. So I think generally speaking, this is the main thing that you need to be very clear about. All right, Mary. Yeah. Take care. The next thing I would say, yeah, is that once you are very clear about what your product is, there are a few ways to look at building it. Generally speaking, if you're very clear about what you want to build, my general recommendation is not to hire a developer, but to get it built as an outsourcing project. The main reason is that at the early stage of a product, you tend your product development, or at least the coding part, tends to happen in waves. So it doesn't make sense to hire someone full time or even part time on a regular basis to build your product, because sometimes you may need to spend like maybe 1 month building something, and then you'll be testing it or getting users to try it out for another month, and you do not know what else to get the developer to build at that point. So generally speaking, I would say you probably want to outsource the early development first. One way that you can overcome this is probably, of course, the ideal case is to have a technical co-founder who's willing to do other things at the same time. So basically, like you and Eunice, but a third person who plays the role of a technical co-founder. Yeah. But if that's not possible, one other way is to find what is known as a fractional CTO. So yeah, so you may hire this or engage this person for like few hours a week, and basically sit down and discuss all the technology related stuff with him or her, and so that at least they can set you in the right path. Yeah, they may not be building the development. The development could still be outsourced to someone else, but there is someone who is technical enough to actually bridge your product idea and your startup needs with a team who has no understanding of what you do. Yeah. So and fractional CTOs is not like engaging a part-time employee. It could be, as I mentioned earlier, as little as just a few hours a week, and you can ramp up once development becomes more serious. But the idea is to have someone who understands your business and also understands technology to act as the bridge. Yeah, because this is probably something that is missing in a lot of startups that are not they do not have a technical co-founder. They may be able to get something done, but they'll hit a block soon after that. Yeah, has happened a few times with some of the startups I've mentored, where they managed to build the first version of the app, and then when it needs to be refined and things like that, they end up having blockers and issues, and they end up like being very upset about the whole process of product development. And yeah, so it would be, personally, it would be very useful if you could engage a fractional CTO to support your early technology needs. Yeah. Okay. The
Okay.
next
Yeah.
part
Thanks.
that you
That's
talked about was about AI, right? Did you, Thibault?
Can you hear
Sorry.
me?
Yes, I heard you, Thibault. You mentioned something
Yeah.
about AI. Could you repeat that question?
Yeah. So I think really it was the same question.
Yeah.
So thanks for the insights, especially the the early development happening in waves. That's very relevant. So we are basically using AI to code.
Yeah.
Right. So code generation with AI, etc. And it takes a lot of time. So there's clear drawbacks to that. But the good thing is that for us, we've been able to put together our prototype and our MVP to go to market with that. So I clearly see the advantage of using AI to code. And I think it solves some of the issues that you raised previously.
Yeah.
And I was curious to your and my question to you basically is: do you see the limitations of coding with AI, and what are some of the things we should be worried about with that regard?
Okay. Generally speaking, because when you say you're using code generation, you are referring to code generation.ai, right?
No, I mean, so right now, tech stack is we're using V0, if you know it. So V0 and using Cursor,
I see.
using Railway to deploy. So it's really it's a simple stack and it
Okay.
works and it's cheap, so
I
it's
see.
good. It's good for our
Yeah.
stage. But then I'm wondering, I don't know what I don't know, right? So I'm
Yeah.
wondering, is something going to blow up our face at some point
Okay.
that we didn't see coming?
I'm not super familiar with that stack, that particular vision. But generally speaking, when it comes to looking to low code, no code platforms, whether it's augmented by AI, I would probably look at vendor lock-ins. What this means is that, are you stuck to using this development tool forever, or are you able to export whatever you have coded into regular code that could be moved to another service, or at least used as a baseline code base for a replacement development? Yeah. So I will probably look at that. If they use very standard, or they talk about being able to export it as maybe JavaScript or some other frameworks, then I think that's kind of fine. It will still eventually blow up in a case where it doesn't allow you to scale. But honestly, I think 80% of startups out there don't need any fancy development. They can do a lot of things using these low-code platforms. The only time they need additional work is when they become more niche, or they are targeting niche areas, or they are scaling to a lot of simultaneous users. Yeah. So that probably will take a long time, and probably not to worry. But at the beginning, the important thing is being able to export your code base into a more general language, so that it can be developed on a different platform or by a regular team of developers. Yeah, rather than having vendor lock-in. That's the most important thing when it comes to low-code and no-code platforms. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. No worries.
Thanks so much.
Elise has a few more minutes left, but I think I'll just answer Arena's second question, which, okay, please remind me, it was about AI being a product or service. Okay. In my opinion, it is definitely, in most cases,